Unfortunately, it's quiet around here. But that would make perfect sense because we are on summer break all throughout the Red Clay Consolidated School District. But what you don't know is that behind the scenes, the hectic pace of the school year continues. Administrators are frantically getting ready for the new school year that is, unfortunately, approaching all too quickly. And here on The Good Stuff, we continue to bring you positivity and good vibes along the way, as we have a jam-packed show full of amazing individuals and great events from the end of this past year. So let's get started, shall we? Imagine, if you will, a wax museum made up of some of the world's most iconic historical figures. And at the push of a button, they come to life to tell you in their own words their stories and accomplishments. Sounds like a cool place to visit, right? Well, at John Dickinson High School, they did just that. And what an incredible time it was for all who were in attendance. And for those who couldn't be there, check this out.
So the Living Wax Museum is the final project for our 8th graders, kind of like the capstone project of their 8th grade curriculum. It kind of came out of idea that we wanted the kids to do something a little bit outside the box and a little more creative just to finish year rather than doing just, a Google Slides presentation or a poster project. And we really want to push them to think outside the box. So they have to research a person that we didn't cover during the course of the school year. They have to do a lot of background information about them, find what they did, what they're most known for, quotes about them. Then they have to kind of come up with a costume. Some go exquisite on them, some just kind of reuse old things. And then they have to come up with a monologue, and they perform that in front of the 6th and 7th graders, and also families and administrators, people who will come in to see.
I'm Wild Bill Hickok. You do get nervous at first, but it's actually very interesting and very cool seeing, being somebody else for a day, being somebody else for a little bit, seeing what they've been through and seeing the different experience that they had. So yeah, at first I was nervous because I was like, how am I going to do this? What am I going to do? But after I was able to relax and be able to see how to do it. So yeah, it's pretty fun. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
I think it makes them work a lot harder than just doing kind of a very simple, basic project. Some of them are not comfortable talking in front of people, so it really makes them kind of get out of their comfort zone. I think it just makes them push a little more and be more creative. But this is kind of the IB mindset that we want to foster here in the MYP. Is you don't have to be the smartest student, but we want you to work hard, we want you to be creative, we want you willing to push the boundaries of our learning experience. And we want them to have some really interesting learning experiences while they're here in their 3 years in the middle school.
I think it's great to allow students to choose what they want to do. They will be able to remember this assignment and their person in much more detail for a longer duration of time than just completing a test on someone. So I think those critical thinking skills, the historical research skills, and then being able to present that, and also in a creative way, is really what we should be tapping into with our students.
Here at Red Clay, the teachers really know how to get their students excited about learning, no matter what the subject is. And the History Wax Museum was a perfect example of just that. Great job, Mr. Swizz. Another teacher who goes above and beyond for her students is Shortridge Academy's music teacher, Jennifer Greene. Not only does she create beautiful music with her students, she's an accomplished performer in her own right. And right here on The Good Stuff, It is stories and programs like these where we get to delve deeper to learn more about our amazing teachers and what life experiences they've gone through and bring with them into the classroom. So, Maestro, play us in.
My name is Jennifer Greene, and I am the general music teacher here at Shortridge Academy. I've always had a passion for music. When I was a little girl, my parents always had music in all different genres. I mean, we went everything from Motown to jazz, the blues, to the rock and roll, and I just loved it. I grew up listening to albums, and then I kind of was told by teachers early on that I could sing. When I graduated from college, it was I think 93, my dad said there's a new baseball stadium in town. It was the Wilmington Blue Rocks. They were advertising it on the radio, in the newspaper, and I went down and I got the first game. So I did that for probably 10 straight years. I sang either the opening day or opening weekend for the Blue Rocks, and then it just went to the Sixers and the Toronto Blue Jays and the Phillies, and so I filled in for Lauren Hart because I could sing "Oh Canada" a couple of times at Philly sporting events as well.
Patriot love in all thy son's command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free.
I remember one of the first performances that I did with the salsa orchestra, Orquesta La Insaciable. We did the Grand Opera House, and it was a sold-out crowd, and I just remember that was such a marvelous stage. I had a solo, and the crowd gave me a standing ovation, and it was just a special moment for me.
En mi corazón una inquietud, hoy te veo tan distante, hay algo que me aleja de tu amor.
I love teaching music, and this has been a long time that I've been teaching elementary school, and they come with so many different life experiences and backgrounds in music, and I think once you get that connection that everyone loves music, everyone listens to it in some way, somehow, some form, it's easy to get the kids excited.
Just smile and be happy, like we normally are.
I love my job, I do. I'm not saying that it's not hard, because it is. The kids are challenging at times, but mostly they teach me just as much or more than I teach them. A typical day in music it's different every week for them. We, of course, build on what we did from the week before, but we warm up with vocalizing. I wrote a school song for Shortridge, so we'll start with that and some vocalizing. Then we'll use percussion instruments to accompany us. We're learning to differentiate between beat and rhythm right now. To do melodic contour, notice the difference in pitches going up and moving down. And we usually base it on a song. So whatever song I pick, we'll accompany it in different ways, singing, moving, dancing. I just try to make it fun for them. And I think that they do have fun in here. Music does bring everyone together. We bring very many backgrounds in our building, in education in general, and there's music everywhere. And we just try to find the way that children enjoy music and learn from it. Learn the basics, the rudimentary theory of music in a nice, fun, friendly way.
You know, it really amazes me each time I watch a video featuring one of the incredible teachers that can be found at any Red Clay school. They certainly make you feel that your children are not only in capable hands, but in inspiring ones as well. And speaking of inspiring people, as you all know by now, we have a new superintendent of Red Clay, and his name is Mr. Greene. He was asked to speak at Heritage Elementary's version of TED Talks. And not only did he have a captive audience that were hanging on his every word, myself included, everyone there left feeling inspired. And if you don't believe me, watch and listen for yourself.
First of all, welcome to the 8th annual Head Talk. This is our eighth Head Talk. And so we've had the Red Clay Teacher of the Year, we had the State Teacher of the Year, we had ex-Philadelphia Eagle. Wow. But now we're moving up. Now we're moving up. So today we have Greene, our new superintendent. We're super excited to have him. And he was probably in office for 5 minutes when I wrote to him and said, will you be our next Head Talk speaker? He got back to me right away and said yes, so I helped him to it. So, but he is on a tight time schedule, so we're going to start Mr. Greene.
So State Teacher of the Year, Philadelphia Eagle, Teacher of the Year, and now me. Okay. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. I appreciate and welcome the opportunity to come join this morning. I know it's early, right? So hopefully you had your fill of coffee, maybe on your second or third cup. But the idea of a Head Talk, and so Mr. Farr reached out to me and again asked me to come, not knowing what I was going to share, what I was going to talk about. And he said, just talk about something that you're passionate about. How many of you heard the tale of two wolves? So there's a old Cherokee who was having a talk with his grandson about life. And he said to his grandson that there's a fight within all of us. There's a fight between two wolves. There's the wolf of evil that's full of envy, frustration, anger, hurt, pain. And then there's also the wolf of goodness. There's the wolf of compassion. There's the wolf of empathy. There's the wolf of love. And so his grandson kind of pondered that and said, well, which one wins? And his grandfather said, the one you feed the most. And so I approach education and the work we do kind of with that state of mind, you know, because you're parents, and I just heard Mr. Farr indicate that, you know, he's experiencing some situations with his wife and his son that could very easily distract him from the day-to-day, and I think we all walk around with two wolves inside of us. And I also live by another quote by Maya Angelou that says, you're the sum total of everything you've ever heard, seen, eaten, smelled, tasted. It's all there. Both things that we remember, things that we forgot. That's why I try to make every experience that I have a positive one. Because we're in the field of education where there's a lot that gets thrown at us. From federal mandates to state mandates to district mandates to building level pressures, from families to community to changing in demographics to changing in the economy to news to Facebook to Instagram to Snapchat to all of these things that kind of bombard us, and what do we choose to focus on? And it's that nature of being positive. It's that nature that teaching and learning is the relationship between the teacher and the student. My experience in education wasn't always a positive one. My mom was a single mom up until I moved with my dad in about the 5th grade. I grew up in a town called Eastern Maryland, which is Talbot County, Maryland. For those of you that might be familiar with the state of Maryland, which is probably the richest county in the state of Maryland. I grew up on sharecropper land. My grandmothers and my great aunts worked in the Phillips crab factory. They pick crab meat for a living. So if you love crab cakes, they actually worked in crab factories, they pick crab meat for a living. They got paid by the pound. So think how many crabs you have to pick to get a pound of crab meat. And they didn't get paid dollars, they got paid cents. And so I had humble beginnings, and right around the 5th grade, around 1985, 86, I relocated to Washington, D.C. So I went from a small little rural country boy to the big city. Struggling 3rd grade reader. Really never connected with education, so by the time I was in 4th grade, I was on my 5th elementary school. My mom worked in hospitals. My grandmother was our caregiver. She had to go to dialysis 3 days a week. So 3 days a week during the evenings, I'm the youngest of 3. Most often I found myself by myself. So I learned to cook by 9. I learned to iron by 9. I love to clean. That's my kind of escape, my getaway. So that's your Mr. Greene fun fact. Mr. Greene loves to clean. But the reality is, I had teachers. I had coaches. I had people who kind of filled those gaps. So on days like today, when it's rainy, or days like Monday, when it was just awful, it was cold, it was dreary, it was miserable. May's not supposed to look like that or feel like that. We all kind of got ourselves in that space of being down. And the question is, when we have those moments, what can you find out of that day that's positive, that's going to allow that wolf of compassion, that wolf of love, that wolf of hope, that wolf of empathy to be fed? Struggling 3rd grade reader. I had one teacher, Mr. Shields, who knew that I loved sports. Again, struggling. My Lexile range or score probably wasn't at the level that someone would think that a teacher would be able to pull a Washington Post newspaper and teach a struggling 3rd grade reader named Darrell how to read, but that's what she did. She would literally take the sports section of the Washington Post, and while everyone was maybe reading through Houghton Mifflin or whatever our anthology was at that period of time, who knows what it was, I was reading the newspaper. And it went from reading the sports section to the local metro section to national news to world news. That went from learning and reading the newspaper to sitting down on Sunday evenings watching 60 Minutes, expanding myself so that I didn't get caught up in my limited surroundings. And so much of what I do in education now is just about that human connection. It's not so much what we teach. Sometimes it's really not about how we teach. It's that connection about who we teach and how we connect with that each student, each family, just to let them know that they matter. Because that's the difference between where I could have ended up and where I am today. Fast forward to my 10th grade year, Miss Melanie Caldwell. These are my champions. These are the people who really poured into me to let me know that I mattered in this world in a way where sometimes that wolf of fear, that wolf of anxiety, that wolf of hurt, that wolf of pain was being fed in my formative years. And now I can sit here and say that I'm the superintendent of the largest school district in the state of Delaware as a result of Mr. Shields taking the time to use a Washington Post newspaper to teach me how to read. Or Miss Melanie Caldwell, when I started to experience some success, who took the time when I was in an international baccalaureate program, and I played football in high school. Our high school wasn't very good. About 2,800 students in my high school. My graduating class was about 720 students. So as a freshman, our football team was awful though. We won 4 games in 4 years. I tell everyone, we had the distinct honor of being defeated one year. Right? So we literally lost every game. And we had to disband our JV football team, similar to what our neighboring high school, Dickinson, had to do a few years ago because of numbers. And so in that, 4 of us were able to go up to varsity. And so as a freshman at 5'5", 125 pounds, believe it or not, I started 6 varsity football games. So literally a school with 2,800 students, here's this little kid, 5'5", 125 pounds, developed a reputation, as a ninth grader, and we know this time of year because I'm sure some of you have the countdown, right? How many days until it's over? Actually, my daughter Jada, who many of you may know, who came through Heritage, actually said today, my teacher said it's how many nights of sleep left. And I'm thinking, okay, get creative with the countdown. But my grade slipped. So I went from International Baccalaureate, again, struggling third grade reader, now I'm in the IB program at my high school, experiencing some success, but my grades dropped. So I got kicked out of IB. And I found myself in the class of Miss Melanie Caldwell, who truly, to this day, I reach back and I thank her annually. So for every accomplishment in my life, I'll send her a note just telling her thank you. Because she was the one teacher who pulled me to the side and said, what are you doing? She saw something in me. She gave me an article from the Des Moines Press, I believe it was, about the need for African-American males in teaching, and this was in the 90s. I had no clue what I wanted to do in life. My mindset was football was my escape. I was good at it, but unfortunately, we weren't on a very good team. So my senior year in high school, I had the opportunity to get some limited scholarship offers. The one offer that I had on the table was the Virginia Military Institute. My best friend talked me out of going on an official visit, and I canceled the visit. So literally, I was supposed to go to the Virginia Military Institute on an official college visit. My best friend went the week before I did. He came back and said, you're gonna hate it. So talk about influences, right? And who and what influences? You're gonna hate it. They treat you like prisoners. You gotta do all these push-ups. You gotta do everything. I'm definitely not going to. So I literally called the coach and I said to them, I'm gonna have to decline the offer, never telling my parents. So now I have to think of what lie am I gonna tell my parents, because in a week they're expecting us to go to VMI for this visit. Lo and behold, unbeknownst to me, it's a Wednesday, the week that we're supposed to go. I haven't come up with a story yet. They called me down. My high school football coach was a health teacher in my high school. So they called me down to his classroom. He had a little office, storage closet off the back of his classroom that he could turn into an office. And I'm thinking, all right, the cat's out of the bag. You know, my parents are gonna be down here. My coach is calling me down. They figured out that I canceled this trip. Lo and behold to me, I get there. There's a coach from University of Delaware, Ted Kempsey. Never heard of the University of Delaware. Never knew or heard of a blue hen. Still to this day, as a fighting blue hen, I'm still trying to research, you know, what? I guess we didn't want to be chickens, so we had to create a blue hen. But the same best friend who talked me into canceling, who influenced me to cancel that trip, was the same one that UD was recruiting, and they were recruiting him heavily. He declined the offer to come to UD, and took an offer to go to William and Mary. They had one scholarship offer left. Never heard of University of Delaware, never received a piece of mail. That was before emails, right? Never had a phone call, never knew anything about it. He says to me, if you and your family have nothing to do this weekend, we would love to invite you up on our last official recruiting trip. And that Sunday, I left the University of Delaware with a full scholarship offer. But this is how they discovered me. We were on a losing team in high school, 4 games in 4 years. Fortunate enough for me, everybody in our county put our high school on their highlight tape. So they saw this kid on this losing team committing himself to running around, to hustling, to working hard, never giving up. And that's how I got discovered. Also to find out that the coach who came down to recruit me almost lost his life on the Perryville Bridge. He said a lady's radiator burst in front of him as he was crossing that bridge. And he said he was fortunate enough to make it to the other side of the bridge, and when he got to the other side, he was gonna turn around and come back. But he said he doesn't know what compelled him to keep driving, to come, and he said, I better be worth it. So I could tell you, and I could share with you today, and I haven't shared this publicly. I shared it with my wife, my parents, and a couple of friends. I just received a phone call Monday that I had the honor to get inducted into the University of Delaware Football Hall of Fame. And a lot of people don't even know I play football, you did. Believe it or not, I don't. I never used that as anything. It was an experience that allowed me to escape. But I think back to Mr. Shields, who used the Washington Post sports section. I think back to Ms. Caldwell. And I think about the work that each of you do. Mr. Farmer, good. Just for the simple fact to say this, relationships matter. And when we don't know what wolf to feed, you're the caterers, you're the cooks, you're the chefs, you're the farmers, you're the people who provide the nourishment for those who come lost, who come hungry, who become distracted, who come fearful, not knowing what this thing about school is all about, not knowing what's going to happen in the end. So my message to you is continue, and even in yourself, figure out the why. Why do we do the work that we do? We just didn't end up here by osmosis. We just didn't show up here today. The same way people poured into me as educator, someone poured into you. Your situation and circumstances may have been different, where it might have been a little cleaner, but it's never easy. Always think about your why. And people will ask me today, and they'll say, "Oh, how's your new job? Do you still like it?" I'm thinking, well, it's only 2 months. But I don't do this as a job. You know, this is who I am. Education has chosen me. And with that passion and with that purpose, each day I wake up and I have to make a choice. Which wolf am I going to feed? So I see a young man, and I'll end with this. Every day I drive Jasmine here. And so from time to time I see a young man, he walks down Milltown Road. Rain, sleet, snow. He's walking to Dickinson High School. And so Monday, it was awful. Pouring down rain, he's walking to Dickinson High School. I literally drive by him. But my conscience, the wolf of compassion, the wolf of love, the wolf of empathy, spoke to me and said, turn around. So I turned around, and not to be a creep, right? Pull out my bag. Hi, my name is Greene. I'm the superintendent of Red Clay. Can I offer you a ride? And so on our short ride from McKinnon's Church, right by St. John's Beloved, actually a little further than that, I pick him up, and he says, thank you. And he says, you know, I get to school all the time, and people always tell me, you know, I see you walking to school. And he's like, you're the first person to stop to pick me up. That's why we do what we do. Because in my mind, Mr. Shields never really probably gave any thought other than, I'm going to help him and meet him where he is. Ms. Caldwell probably never thought anything other than the fact that I'm going to help him and meet him where he is. It could be a ride to school. It could be that good morning. It could be that goodbye. It could be that smile. It could be that extra assignment, those high expectations, that phone call, whatever the case may be. As long as it's positive and with good intent, you never know how the decisions and choices that we make as educators are going to impact the life of that young person. So when you're not feeling your best, when you're not kind of on your game, don't lose sight of learning happens between the relationship between the teacher and the student. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Greene, for sharing your words and experiences with our viewing audience. I so look forward to what we'll be sharing with all of us in Red Clay in the future. It really is an exciting time to be here. And while we are talking about inspiration and all things good in Red Clay, it only seems fitting to include a short, refreshing piece about an event that happened at North Star Elementary a short time ago. We here on The Good Stuff have the utmost respect and regard for all servicemen and women and first responders. What they do for us all is truly remarkable. So when we heard that the Delaware State Police helicopter was coming to visit one of our students, we jumped at the opportunity, and our cameras were waiting for them. Take a look.
You You know, when we first land here, it's almost like we're like rock stars a little bit. They all want to come rush to the helicopter, and they all want to come talk to us. And you know, if they just saw us out on the street, they kind of wouldn't know. Even if we were in our police cars, things like that, they wouldn't know. So that's why it's very important to get out in the community and to put a face to a name, and even just to let them see that we're real people. It's a really valuable event. Even when I talk to the kids here, that's one of the things that got me interested in not only being a trooper, but also becoming a pilot. On a normal basis, typically it's just a two-person crew, pilot and a paramedic. Today we do have an additional pilot. His name's Sergeant Tom McEwen. He's in charge of the aviation operations for the northern half of the state. And Corporal Elvin Thompson, he's the paramedic on today's shift as well. So first and foremost is medevac. But we also do the full suite of law enforcement missions, whether that be police pursuits, search and rescue, but whether it also may be for somebody that's running away from the police in general. We do VIP transport. We do have the hoist capability, so we can do the rescues, and that's about it. We visit lots of schools. We visit summer camps, we visit all kinds of public places where we do get to interact with the community. If the weather's good, we'll be out here, we'll come talk to the kids and even the parents and just the general public as well.
What a way to make an entrance and an exit. And a sincere thank you to all our service people and first responders. Well, that's all we have time for this episode of The Good Stuff. We sure hope you enjoyed watching it. And you know, we are always on the lookout for fun and smile-worthy stories to bring to you. So if you have an idea for one of our next features, please feel free to email us or hit us up on social media. We would love to hear from you. Lastly, on The Good Stuff, we always try to leave you with something to think about and something positive. So remember this quote from Les Brown. In every day, there are 1,440 minutes. That means we have 1,440 daily opportunities to make a positive impact. So I ask you, what will you be doing for the next 60 seconds of your life? Thanks for watching, and have an amazing rest of your day.